Now we're going to create a second table in our database. This table is going to have just our um, recipes for cookies. Now we need to keep track of all of our suppliers for from whom we order our baking goods. So let's close this table. Remember, we have the Close Object button and we have the Close Database button. Let's click the Close Object button, and we see our navigation pane over here. If we wanted to open that table back up, let's go ahead and just show you how to open a table. Double click on the cookies table name, and you will see your cookies table opens over here in the right hand pane. Let's go ahead and close that. And now let's create a second table in our database. And this time we're going to create a table template. Click on the Create tab, and then let's go to Application Parts, and then we're going to click on Contacts. And here we're going to create our table, and we're going to click that there's no relationship. And we're going to click Create. And automatically, when we use this template, automatically you notice that you have a table created. And when we use a template, it also will create a query, a form, or several forms and several reports. And most of those we're going to delete and create our own. Let's go ahead and open the Contacts table. If you don't see, this is a good time to talk about our navigation pane before we continue, though. This is our navigation pane, and it shows us all 4 of our database objects. We have 4 objects: tables, forms, queries, and reports. And they show here in the navigation pane. Sometimes you may not see all of them because the sections here may be collapsed, or sometimes the whole navigation pane may be collapsed. This is your shutter bar open and close button, and that either opens or closes the navigation pane. So practice opening and closing the navigation pane. Okay, now you can also collapse and expand these sections. And you can show how you want, or choose how you want these objects to show. You can tell it to, by clicking this drop down arrow, you can tell it you only want to see tables and related views, or that's how you want it to group it. So you see your cookies table, and then you see your contacts table and all of the attached forms, queries, and reports for your contacts table. You can group it by created date, or sort it by created date. Modified date, today, all dates. I prefer either the object type view or the tables and related views. I'm going to go back to object type view that sorts our tables, queries, forms, and reports based on object type. Let's go ahead and open the contacts table. You see our table is created for us automatically. We are going to delete this first column. I'm going to delete it. So click on the field name, And then right-click on the field name and choose Delete Field. It's going to, I know what the deal is. It's telling us we can't delete this column because there's a primary key set. Now, a primary key is set up so it can uniquely identify a record. And so it's like your student ID or an account number. It's a unique number for each record. Like for people in the U.S., you can't really have a first name as a primary key because that's not unique for each person, but a social security number is. You can't really have a last name as a primary key. Sometimes in some databases you see an email address as a primary key, like for Facebook. They only allow one account using that email address. Um, some accounts might use a phone number as a primary key. Phone number is not a good primary key in many instances, though, because think about students. More than one student may have the same phone number um, listed because, especially at the elementary level where kids don't all have their own phone, the phone number listed in the system would be the parent's number. So that's not a good primary key. Most of the time, it's going to be an account number or an ID number. So what we need to do to set the primary key to turn it on or to turn it off is to go to Design View, Table Design View. So let's go to the Home tab. You can also find it on the Fields or, the Fields tab. But let's go to the Home tab or the Fields tab, either one, and click the View button. And this opens our table in Design View. When you create a new table in Design View, it'll automatically make you save it and give the table a name, a table name before you can actually go into this view. Before you change views back and forth, it makes you save your changes and give your table a name. Okay, now you see the first thing here is the ID field, and it's got the primary key on. To delete that, we're going to go up there and click the primary key button. Notice it had a key here, but it's no longer here. Turn the primary key back on. There is a key there. Turn it back off. It's no longer there. Okay, so let's click here on this field selector button here. Right click and choose Delete Rows. The company name now, we're going to make that the primary key because we don't want to list the same supplier more than one time. We don't want redundancy in our database. So we're going to make the company primary key so that we don't list it a second time. And so the company name is going to be a text field. You see that we have company name, we have a data type, and we have a description. So you can describe what kind of data you want in your database. So let's type in the description company name. And we're going to put here contact last name. And we're going to edit this and call it contact. First name. So we're editing our field names. Remember, well, let's just go over here. Let's change the view at this point. Go back in view and go to Data Sheet View. says first save the table, click yes. Okay, contact first name, email address, job title. We're going to take out job title, so let's delete this field. Let's delete home phone. So let's right click here, delete rows. Home phone, we're not going to do. We can also delete the rows up here in the ribbon. Address, city, state. Let's just change this to state. Change zip to zip code. Country or region. We're just going to assume all of ours are American. In the U.S., all of our suppliers. So let's just delete that row. And let's delete web page as well. And let's select these last 4 rows because we can delete multiple ones at a time. And then go up here and click the delete rows button. Let's save our changes. Go up here and click save. And then let's change to data sheet view. Okay, and we should see that the fields that we deleted have also been deleted from data sheet view. Now, for some reason, our field names did not update. And it may be because we have these forms and things attached to this table. Let's go ahead and delete this table. I'm sorry, this query. And click yes. Click on the first form, hold shift, and click on the last report. And go up here and click delete. And it's saying, do you want to delete all of the selected objects? Go ahead and click yes. So all we see now are 2 tables. We'll create our own queries and reports. Okay. For some reason, this didn't update. So let's update the contact. Last name, just double click up here on the field heading. And then you can edit it. Let's double click on the first name field. And we're going to call this contact first name. I didn't mean to delete the whole thing. And press enter. Okay, now let's go back into datasheet view. And we're going to work with field properties. Scroll up to the top of the table here if you need to. I had to scroll up. Click on the company name. By default, field size for a text data type is 255 characters. We don't need that many. To help reduce storage costs, many times companies will set field sizes. So it's kind of like when you fill out some forms where you have to write your name in the little squares and there's only a certain amount of squares. The company is limiting how many characters you can enter into the database. And that many times is to save space. If you think about it, when you go to the store and you buy a flash drive, if you buy a 1 gig flash drive, you're going to pay a lot less for it than if you buy a 32 gig flash drive. So the more storage you have, the more you pay for that. The more it costs. So companies who store a lot of information pay a lot of money to store and maintain that information. So many times your databases will be designed to help reduce the amount of storage that is required by setting field sizes and other restrictions that might be set within the database. So we're going to change the field size of a company name. We're going to only allow it to store 40 characters. So field size, let's go down here in the field properties. Notice this area is labeled field properties. We're going to go to the field size and change it to 40. Contact last name, we're going to put in 15. Contact first name, put in 10. Email address, we're going to allow 50. Some of those are pretty long. Business phone, this is where we're going to put an input mask so that we don't have to type parentheses and dashes in our phone numbers. It helps to save the amount of time it takes to enter information. So on business phone, let's click down here. We're only going to allow a field size. Well, let's just do an input mask. Okay. Click down here on input mask. And then go over here and click these three dots. It's telling you you must save the table first. Go ahead and click yes to save now. And it gives us, these are just kind of little templates for entering information into our database. And the input number that we're going to use is a phone number, or I'm sorry, the input mask we're going to use is phone number. So click next. We're going to input mask. It's going to look like this, like maybe 501 in parentheses, and then your 10-digit number or your 7-digit phone number there. The placeholder character, we're going to leave that the same, and we're just going to click next. Store the data in the table. We're going to tell it to store it with the symbols, and then we're going to click next. And then we're going to click finish. So with our input mask set, when we enter phone numbers, all we'll have to do is enter the numbers. We won't have to worry about typing in parentheses and the dashes. So it saves us some time. Let's do the same thing for a mobile phone. Go down here. Save the table. Click on phone number. Click next. Click next. Save it with the symbols. Click next. And then finish. And it shows we have an input mask. Fax number. Let's do the same thing. It's going to be a phone number. Click down here in input mask. Click the three dots. Save the table. Phone number next. Next. Let's go ahead and do with symbols. Next. And finish. Address. City. State. Let's change the state to a field size of 2. In the U.S., we have a two-digit state abbreviation for all states. Any more than that, it's a mistake. So we want to help limit mistakes. So we'll change our field size to 2. Zip codes. We can also do an input mask for a zip code. Click here. In the input mask row, three dots. Save the table. Click the zip code mask. Click next. It's going to have a 5-digit number with a 4-digit extension if you have an extension. Click next. We want to save it with the symbols and click next and then finish. Let's save our database table. Go up here and click Save button. You can also do File, Save. And then let's go back to Datasheet View. And let's begin to enter our information. Our company name, let's call this Grocery. Last name, contact first name, email address, bwhite@billsgrow.com. Business phone, let's just put a number in. Mobile phone. Oh, I accidentally hit tab before I was finished. Since I have an input mask in, it's telling me, uh-oh, you've made a mistake. You haven't entered the appropriate information. So I need to click OK, and then I can edit. So an input mask helps you avoid errors. Uh-oh. Address. And I may want to close my shutter bar so I can see more fields on my um, screen at one time. Click back in my record to continue editing. You may or may not know a 4-digit extension for a postal code, so it will go ahead and let you only enter 5 digits, even though it has an input mask on for your postal code. Okay, what we're going to do here, we're going to leave this one blank because we're going to assume Betty Harold does not have a mobile phone. And we're going to assume that they don't have a fax number. Maybe a small business, so all they have is a business phone. Okay, so we've entered our contact information. Let's go ahead. I want to edit this even further though. I want to add a field that is a website field. So let's go back to Design View, click the View button, and let's add a field. To add a field, we can just simply type the field down here. Let's click on Website, and let's see what we need to make it. We need to make it a hyperlink field. And we're going to, in the description, we're going to call it Company Web. Let's go back to Datasheet View. First, save the table, yes. If we scroll over to the right-hand side, now we see that a company website is visible. So it's going to be www.billsgrocery.com, uh, www.sarahlee.com, and then let's just click down here for being faster, and then www.quill.com. And press enter. Now, what these do is they allow me to actually click on one of these hyperlinks if these are correct web addresses. I know this one I will actually go to a web page. Click on it, and it will open a web page. So maybe we order all of our office supplies, our pens, our papers, our tax forms, our copy paper for printing our invoices, our toner, all of those things that help us to run our business, we may order from Quill. And by having their website in our database, we can quickly go and order those things online. Go ahead and close our database, or close the window for that web address. Okay. We could even put a field in here. If we only order a few specialty items, we could put a field in here for to explain what items we order from this company. We could have a comments field. Well, let's think about that. If we were going to do a comments field, probably what data type would we use? Would it be better to use a text field or a memo field? And you'll have to decide that for your database because, you may want to limit field size, but 255 characters might not be enough. Let's just do it. Let's add a contacts field. Not contacts, comments field. Let's add a comments field. Let's give it a memo data type. So we've got our contacts in, and we are ready to close this table. Now let's close the database. And then let's reopen a database. Go to Access. We're going to show you how to reopen a database. Go to Access. To open a database, you can click on Open. But for your most recent ones, you can view those by clicking on Recent. And then you've got the Recipes one. And notice it opens now to your two tables showing in your navigation pane. Let's open the Contacts table. And we see it is there. Let's open the Cookies table. And I made a mistake. We're going to have to fix, well, I didn't make a mistake. I need to talk about table names in just a second. Notice all of our cookies here, and we can edit the table by adding more not fields. Remember, the rows are records, so we can add more records to this table. We can edit the table structure by going into Data Sheet View. We could add an extra field if we needed to. Notice that we have cookie names set up as the primary key because we only want one chocolate chip cookie recipe in there. We're going to leave the cookie name as the primary key so that we can't duplicate that cookie name in our database. If we want another type of chocolate chip cookie, we're going to have to name it something else. It might be chocolate chip gluten-free or chocolate chip pecan. but we have to have a unique cookie name for each recipe. And that's why we have a primary key in there. So let's click on the View button to go back to Datasheet View. Let's close the cookies table. Let's go ahead and close the contacts table. Now the contacts table we need to rename. Right-click on the contacts table name. Rename the contacts table. And let's name it contacts and your name. Remember, your name needs to be in all object names. Now, let's print a table. Let's open the cookies table back up. Let's go to File, Print. Let's go to Print Preview. Let's change the orientation to landscape. Notice it automatically puts your table name up here. This is why you have to have your name in your table names or your object names, because it automatically puts them at the top of your paper. We can't create headers and footers in here. So you have to put your name in the object names when you're saving them. And then go ahead and click Print. If you have trouble printing, ask your teacher. So click Print. Choose your printer, and here choose the Dell Laser MFP 1815, and then click OK. I'm going to cancel because I don't want to print. Okay, now let's open the contacts table. Let's select all of these columns. We're going to auto fit so that we make sure all of our information shows. Select all of those columns. Double click on one of the borders. Scroll over. Looks like it didn't get city done. Okay. Let's double click on that city border. For some reason, that one did not auto fit. So we'll just need to review our information. Double click on, well, let's select these and fix those. Double click there on that border to auto fit. It's called auto fit, to auto fit those column widths. Now let's go to File. Let's go to Print. Print Preview. Let's change it to Landscape. Let's change our margins on this one to normal so it shows our contact's name up there. Yep, that's good. And then click, notice you can see how many pages are going to print down here in the page or in the navigation bar. You can click to view the next page. Click the single arrow to go to the next page in the navigation bar. This is going to print on 2 pages. And so go ahead and click the print button. If necessary, choose your printer to be the Dell Laser MFP 1815, and then click OK. And then we're going to close our database. So close the database. We'll ask you if you want to save changes. Click yes. I always click yes. And then we are finished with this first lesson on creating tables in Access.